Storm Arwen is moving in and we're expecting rain, hail, fish, more rain and a treat. Morning everybody. Well, what we have for today is a day on Gunfruit, and with me is Justin Allen and Di Lloyd. Now we're not sure as to how the day will pan out as we have Storm Arwen moving in. The water is pretty protected from the worst as we are surrounded by trees and in a bit of a hollow, but what you get here is more of a swirling wind which can catch you out on a cast. The conditions are pretty wet and cold, and the forecast is for the worst by afternoon. Now for the fishing, there is nothing consistent, so we'll just have to work that one out when we get on the water. But I am sure, like a lot of the waters at the moment, those fish will keep us busy as they constantly move up and down in the columns. Okay, for those of you who have never fished Gunfruit before, it is well worth the visit. It's a top quality water. The fish in here are rainbows, browns, spartics, tigers and blues, and weighing anything from average of £2 well into double figures. Now if you think to yourself, yes, I'd love to go visit that water, but it's just a bit too far to go for a day's fishing, you could always do what us boys do. Once a year we book either the cottage or one of the cabins, and we'll spend probably 3, sometimes 4 days down here, and we love it, and we're always looking forward to the following year. It's all self-catering, but what you want to do is contact the fishery manager Jamie, and he'll tell you all you need to know about booking either the cottage or the cabins. You could even bring your own mobile home. They even allow tents now onto site, and the facilities are spot on. But for us boys, what we do, we target generally the end of March, April, because we're looking to hit on the buzzers and we're going to fish throughout the day. But if you decide you want to bring your family down, you might want to target the summer months and get onto the dry fly, so you've got time to spend with your family during the day, and then target the fish in the evening. And the dry fly action here, I've never seen anything as good as on this water for dry fly hatch. But one of the great things about the water is that you've got everything here. You've got shallows, you've got deep spots, you've got little coves, you've got the reeds, the trees. If you're in the springtime, it's some of the best buzzer fishing I know of in the area. But it is a top class water, and as I say, it's really worth the visit. Okay, one of the first things I'd like to do is apologise, because there's no way I am going to be able to keep the water off the lens entirely. I will continue to wipe the lens, but I think with the conditions today it's going to be almost impossible. But for today, the first thing that I was surprised by was the amount of people on the water fishing. Right, yeah. Now, either they haven't checked the forecast, or they're like myself and the boys that are out for that challenge, because the forecast for the conditions today is just unbelievable. We know it's going to get pretty wild and it's going to make it very difficult for the fishing. But as I say, we're out. It's more of a challenge against the conditions as much as possibly the fishing. But for us three, what we've decided to do is set up 2 rods apiece. And we're going with the floaters and the intermediates. Now, before even Di and myself had even got set up, Justin had already pulled 2 fish to the net, and he's picking them up on a dowback, fished with a twitchy figure of 8. So I've decided to put a 2-fly cast on both the intermediate and the floater. On the floater, I've got this muskin type pattern that I'm working with. It fishes normally best when it's quite high in the water, although it can pick a good few fish up when you're just leaving it drop really slowly through the columns, static. And then I've got a dow back on the point. On my intermediate line, again a dow back on the dropper, and I got my black and green frits on the point. Di has decided to stick with a one fly cast on both, and again he's going to mix it about a bit. So if you're wondering why we are not fishing with a 3 fly cast and restricting it to maybe 1 or 2 fly casts, it's mainly down to the weather. The gusts are quite extreme. You know, you could be mid cast and suddenly a gust comes up and then you're in big trouble.
Doesn't bother the little duck though, does it? Well, he's happy. I wonder if Justin's had any more. I reckon he just got lucky there, you know. Nobody else is hitting nothing. I've seen nothing move, nothing come out. It could be one of them bloody days. Oh, we're getting some proper wind as well now. Perhaps the windward bank isn't the place to be.
Okay, so I've moved spot. Sometimes that can renew your confidence. Conditions are a bit calmer at the moment, and the temperatures are pretty comfortable as well, so it's not too cold at the moment. I have had 2 knocks here on the floating line. Don't know what they're picking up on, but that was fishing it quite slowly, a slow figure of 8. Did see Di down the far end of the lake. He pulled 1 fish, got it to the net. Apparently that's on a tequila blob on his intermediate line, and I have heard that Justin's had a few more fish. There's been 1 or 2 fish coming out. I see a guy opposite me, he's pulled 1 out. I think he's fishing a lure, and I did hear of somebody on the other side of the lake with an indicator pulling a fish out. So everyone's starting to pull a few fish. Hopefully I will soon, but we'll be having breakfast shortly, and obviously I'll meet up with Justin, find out what he may be doing different. Now a lot of the times he probably ain't doing anything different. You could fish alongside him and do exactly as what he does, but for some reason he'll be the one that's pulling the fish out. Well, what I'm fishing with now at the moment is the intermediate. I've taken the black and green frits off, and I've put it's a lure that I've been using, or was using, up in Eridine, and it was quite successful. When I was fishing up at Eridine, I was fishing it a lot slower because the water was more coloured. Here the water is a lot clearer, so what I'm doing is putting it out, move it a lot quicker, keeping it higher in the water, and every other cast is I'm going to let it drop a bit lower and obviously fish a lot slower. And the reasons for that is because I'm not certain as to where the fish are at the moment. There's nothing really showing on the top, so it's a matter of going through the layers as best you can. Sometimes you can put a pattern out, moving it a bit too slow and the fish aren't switched on by it, and sometimes if you were to put that same pattern out in the same area, just moving it a bit quicker, and sometimes you'll pick the fish up. So it's just a matter of finding out whether the fish are wanting it a bit slower or a bit quicker. Okay, so we've had dinner, really nice dinner too. If you're ever there, you've got to check the cafe out. Some really good food. Spoke with Justin, seems like we're doing not much different really. All he said was that he's just checking the water out, move about until you start locating the fish. Now the difference is, when I watch Justin, I've been watching him through the day. I see him across the lake 1 minute, next minute I look up again and he's gone, and then you're looking for him. He moves around so much, so quickly. It's like a dog looking for his bone. I can't move that quick, or I don't want to move that quick. Basically, it's just keep at it, keep checking your columns, keep switching. You know, you're going to find them at some point. Justin's been picking more up higher in the columns than he has lower. So I'm fishing with the floater. But what I've done, I've increased the tippet. I've now gone on to a 3-fly cast, keeping with the musking on the top, dial back on the second dropper, and on the point fly, I'm switching between, it's a very small size 16, like March brown type thing. It's got a little red bead on it. And then I'm going to be switching also to my size 14 Here's a Gold Head. If I feel the fish are just that little bit lower, then obviously I'll switch to the Gold Head so that it drops through the columns a little bit quicker. A little bit higher, then I'll be switching to the size 16 March brown. The fish, from what I can tell, they're moving. They're not in one place for too long. They're up and down in the columns and they're moving about. They're not moving too quickly, so you do get the opportunities. It's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. That is so nice just to get the feel of a fish on the end of the line. But I'd only been at this spot probably 5-6 casts worth, and then the fish hit. What happened was I was looking out on the water. I've been casting and fishing it round, slow retrieve, and what I've noticed out at a distance was a couple of fish move. They seem to be constantly moving out in this one piece of water. Now the thing as to where these fish are moving, it's probably 80 plus foot away, so it's a decent cast to get there. And luckily the wind is helping me a bit, and it's not too gusty, so I was able to get out there. And what I've got on the point is the Gold Head Hazy, and I was putting it out there. I tried a couple of casts and retrieves with a sort of faster figure of 8 because I see the fish were higher. And that didn't do nothing, so I put it out and left it, and I just kept contact with the fly. It couldn't have been no more than probably 5, maybe 6 foot down, and that's when it hit it. And that fish took the musking variant on the top dropper. So what I'm going to do now is put it back out, same place, see if we can get that to happen again.
Yeah. Wonder if it's up musking again. A nice plumpy fish.
Okay, that was the second dropper with the black dialback.
Black dialback that time.
The idea of the Here's a Gold Head on the point is it's all about the movement in the water, so when I'm putting it out, it's dragging the dialback and the muskin. It's on the drop, it's just moving that bit quicker. Once I put the cast out, just make contact with the flies and allow them to drop. So again, with the Gold Head on the point, if I decide I want to move them flies a little bit quicker, I know I can maintain a certain depth. If I was obviously fishing a lighter point fly, then obviously that would come a lot higher in the water. Oh no, here it comes. I think this is Storm Arwen moving in. Just a bit ago there was this huge loud noise on the other side of the lake. Apparently it's a tree that had come down. It was just unbelievable, the noise of it. I'd say it was a pretty big tree. Okay, that was pretty heavy, but it didn't last too long. It was about 15 minutes or something. But when I'm looking up at the skies, I can see it's very patchy, cloudy. But with these higher winds, it's moving it quite quickly across. So it's not as if we're going to be in it constantly. The fishing here at the moment has gone a bit quieter, but I can see 1 or 2 fish, not much. And they're moving over the other side of the lake, so I'm going to head over there. On my way over to the other side of the lake, I see that Justin was into another fish. So I thought I'd go down, have a look, see what he's got.
It is all cracking, isn't it?
Good too, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the fly.
That's the fly.
Cracking.
Rabbits are mainly. Hackle as well.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Well, I've come here for a long time.
So I was fishing with the same setup with the gold head on the point, but I wasn't getting no joy with that. But watching the water, seeing a few fish moving nearer the top, took the gold head off, put the small March brown on the point. Obviously that's going to hold it higher in the water. And I think it was the second cast that I hooked into this fish.
Now we've got the hail. Any more? Huh? Did you get any more fish? It's been a tough day, isn't it? Justin got gone. There he is. I had one more. Yeah.
I had 2 more, Shaun.
Did you?
I lost another 3.
Jesus.
Yeah. I'm going to go back on.
What's that?
That. I had
Oh, right.
2 on the job back and 1 on that.
Yeah.